So today, since we are glorifying Lord Nityananda and reading from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, we'll go through another prayer, which you can repeat after me. The lyrics first, and then we can go into the call and response. So it's from the Chaitanya Charitamrita, so you can repeat after me. Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya,
Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya,
Jaya Nityananda,
Jaya Nityananda,
Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya,
Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya,
Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
So we will chant this together in call and response, and just get absorbed in the vibration, and then we'll chant the Hare Krishna mantra and get into it. Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda,
Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya, Jaya Nityananda,
Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda,
Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya, Jaya Nityananda,
Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda,
Jaya Dvaita Chandra, Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda,
Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda,
Jaya Dvaita Chandra, Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda,
Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda,
Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya, Jaya Nityananda,
Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda,
Jaya Dvaita Chandra, Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda,
Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda,
Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya, Jaya Nityananda,
Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda,
Jaya Dvaita Chandra, Jaya Gaura
Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkest ignorance, and my spiritual master opened my eyes with the torch of knowledge. I offer my respectful obeisances unto him. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namani Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharini Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschata Desha Tarini. I offer my respectful obeisances unto His Divine Grace E.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, who is very dear to Krishna, having taken shelter of his lotus feet. O Master, we offer our obeisances unto you, servant of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami. You're kindly preaching the message of Lord Chaitanya Deva in the Western countries, which is full of Buddhism and impersonalism. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasati Gaura Bhaktavrinda. I offer my respectful obeisances unto Shri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhara, Srivas, and all others in the line of devotion. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Alright, so today we are reading from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita on the glories of Lord Nityananda from Adi Leela. A very wonderful text is Chaitanya Charitamrita, the PhD of our scriptures, where we have Bhagavad Gita as it is, that goes over aspects of Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, and ultimately culminates in bhakti and surrender. And then beyond that surrender, we see that in the Bhagavatam is very much focused on bhakti and showcases devotees who have gone through different difficulties that we can gain inspiration from in our own bhakti practice, whether it's Prahlad Maharaj or Dhruva Maharaj, and there's various examples of even Narad Muni, and seeing how his instructions are to us, and he comes in our sampradaya, which is glorious. And then we have Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, which is known as a PhD, just like the Gita's the undergraduate and the graduate is Bhagavatam. But Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita comprises texts of the Gita and the Bhagavatam and goes deeper into this prema bhakti, right? So not just, because bhakti can be performed in different moods, and there's the awe and reverential mood, which is kind of the beginning, the dasya bhav, where the Lord is opulent and you're the servant and you're serving the Lord. That is also bhakti, but that's in the mood of awe and reverence. So our mood that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wanted us to inculcate was very much the Vrindavan Krishna mood, because he's so lovable. And the awe and reverential mood prevents one from going deeper. Just like the goddess Lakshmi could not take part in the rasa dance because she's so much into that dasya bhav, right? So the gopis of Vrindavan. So Gaudiya Vaishnavism is very much honoring Srimati Radharani and Radha Krishna. But then in order to approach Radha Krishna, we must approach first Shri Gaur Nitai. Without Shri Gaur Nitai, we cannot approach Radha Krishna. And this time period, typically between January and March, we have Lord Nityananda Trayodasi, Lord Nityananda's appearance day, and we have Shri Gaura Purnima. And what this period is there is to remind us about the glories of Lord Chaitanya and to share the glories of Lord Chaitanya with people, because Lord Chaitanya is not very familiar with the population in general. So just talking about Chaitanya a little bit, Kirtan, he's the one who really brought the Hare Krishna mantra out to the public in a time when it's limited to certain Brahmin community, and there were consideration as to who can receive the mantra like that. So we are very much the beneficiaries of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Nityananda Prabhu, who have come and really shared this with everyone without any sort of consideration. So I'll be reading a few verses just to give everyone an idea on Lord Nityananda's glory. So it is from Adi Leela chapter 5. And it's towards the beginning. And before I begin, I wanted to know, is anybody here for the first time or new to Krishna consciousness? Okay, we must be familiar. All right, so we'll read from chapter 5, text 4 onwards. So I'll do the Bengali and the translation. Sarvavatari Krishna Swayam Bhagavan Tanhara Dvityateha Shri Balaram. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, is the fountainhead of all incarnations. Lord Balarama is his second body. Purport. Lord Shri Krishna, the Absolute Personality of Godhead, is the primeval Lord, the original form of Godhead, and his first expansion is Shri Balarama, the Personality of Godhead. Can expand himself in innumerable forms. The forms that have unlimited potency are called Swamsa, and forms that have limited potencies to the living entities are called Vibhimnamsa. So from here, this text, we can see that first it establishes the fact that Krishna is the fountainhead of all incarnations. Now sometimes we can question this, or people who have already been exposed to Sanatana Dharma, they say, well, isn't Krishna just the 8th incarnation of Vishnu? Well, we try and understand this from the perspective of relationship, right? What kind of relationships can you have with the Lord, right? So when we look at relationships, we see that, okay, one can have a neutral relationship, the Shanta Ras. Then going beyond that, there's the Dasya Ras, which is the servitorship. Okay, the Lord is there, I'm here, I'm meant to serve him, right? And what's beyond that?
Sakya.
Yeah, so Sakya Ras, so friendship. So you look at the Lord as a friend, just like the Gopas. And what's beyond that? Vatsalya. Okay, so parenthood, right? So you treat Krishna as a child. This is very unique. No one thinks of God like that, right? So it's very unique to this tradition, that in our Sanatana Dharmic tradition, that we look upon God like that. And what's beyond that? Madhurya, yeah. So Madhurya is looking at the Lord as a lover, right? But only with Krishna can you have these different relationships, right? So that shows that Lord Krishna is, the form of Lord Krishna is, even sweeter than Lord Narayana, who's bedecked with all the jewels and the crown and the opulence, right, of Vaikuntha Loka, right, Vaikuntha Natha. But then Krishna is, playing with his flute and simple cowherd boy, right? So that's the kind of mood that Gaudiya Vaishnavism, tradition exposes us as, like, we don't care about the opulence per se. It's just he's the Lord and he's lovable, and we want to love him and serve him. And that's kind of the mood we want to inculcate. So only with Krishna we can have that. So therefore, when Krishna comes in Dwapar Yuga, that is the original personality of Godhead. And all the other forms where you can have lesser relationship with, even though they may come as opulence, right, is not considered to be the primeval form. So I hope that's a little bit clear as to why Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Because even with Narasimha-dev, you cannot relate to Narasimha-dev and Madhurya Ras, right? Like Bhanu Swami says from our Sampradaya, it's like, it's only Krishna, right? With even with Lord Rama, it's mostly Dasya Ras, right? And even with Narasimha-dev and so forth. So you can relate to Krishna a lot more closely that way. So that's why Krishna, you can have no limitation in terms of relationship or anything. And that's why he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So first, this begins, Chaitanya Charitamrita begins to establish that Krishna is the supreme form. And this is why. And it goes over very philosophically within the Adi Leela and explaining as to why that is. And it's not just out of sentiment or some sort of emotional, reasons why we worship Krishna. Actually, if we see the altar, you can see that, there's personalities in the picture, like the Panchatattva on the right side, the different teachers, Srila Prabhupada. So there's various different scriptures that they mention. The Goswamis establish the fact that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of God. Okay? So from that's Krishna, right? So going into text 5, it says, Eka Eshwarupa Dani Bhina Matra Kai Adya Kai Vyuha Krishna Lila Rasahai. Translation: these two are one and the same identity, they differ only in form. Lord Balaram is the first bodily expansion of Krishna, and he assists Lord Krishna in transcendental pastimes. Purport: Lord Balarama is a Swamsa expansion of the Lord, and therefore there is no difference in potency between Krishna and Balaram. The only difference is their bodily structure. As the first expansion of Godhead, Balaram is the chief deity among the first quadruple forms, and he is the foremost assistant of Sri Krishna in his transcendental pastimes. So here we understand that first there's Krishna, the primeval supreme personality of Godhead, Adi Purusham, and then there's the first expansion, which is Balaram. Right? And Balaram's mood is to be of service. And the difference between Krishna and Balaram is just complexion. But they're not a Swa Amsa, the same, potency and same, form and so forth. So that is Krishna and Balaram. So if you go to Sri Vrindavan, and who here has been to Sri Vrindavan? Okay, so if you go there, then you will see that in our ISKCON temple we'll have Shri Krishna Balaram deities, right? And oftentimes there's a misconception amongst the local Vrindavans, like, oh, that's the Westerners' temple, right? But it's like, the reason why that is because Srila Prabhupada has made a package of Krishna consciousness that is applicable and relatable in the West, right? And therefore, all these people from the Western countries, or even from, like, say, China and, different Southeast Asian countries, the Middle East, Europe, they all come and, sing and chant there because of the program that Srila Prabhupada has set, right? So the program is conforming to the, Western standards a little bit, so that you can relate to the Westerners, so that they can also take up to the process of Krishna consciousness. Otherwise, if we stick to being extremely rigid, people may not be able to do that. So therefore, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta sent a couple of sannyasis, monks, to England. I believe it was like in the 1930s. And they were not as successful as Srila Prabhupada was, because Srila Prabhupada was, expert in knowing the tendencies of the Westerners and being able to give Krishna consciousness to them. And, Srila Prabhupada has gone through a lot of, austerity, in the sense that in the beginning, they would, the early followers of Srila Prabhupada did not, have the same respect a Swami would have in India. So when he's, there's one washroom to use, and then Srila Prabhupada standing in line to use the washroom behind all the hippies at that time, right? And then Srila Prabhupada would go, use the washroom, clean the toilets, serve prasadam by himself, right? Teach the disciples how to cook. So typically this we don't see acharyas do, right? But Srila Prabhupada took a lot of, effort to really cater to that, right? And he didn't say, oh, you guys are all, degraded malachas and so forth. No, Srila Prabhupada had that vision where he could see the spiritual spark in everyone. So therefore, when we chant Guru Puja, for example, or we have Srila Prabhupada's picture here, it's important to know what Srila Prabhupada established. And therefore, when you go to Sri Vrindavan Dham and see the Krishna Balaram deities, which Srila Prabhupada had them installed there, it's because of that unique package of Krishna consciousness where people from everyone, every sort of background can take to it. And if you go to Sri Mayapur, you'll see there's so many, devotees from different backgrounds who speak different languages. And, it's the vision of our Acharyas Bhaktivinoda Thakur that you would see the Europeans and Americans come and play the mridanga and go on the streets. So where I'm going with this is in the Krishna Balaram temple, when Srila Prabhupada established those deities, he said that those deities, because they're in Vrindavan Dham, will serve as inspiration for all of us around the world and give us strength. So that's something very wonderful. And when the Krishna Balaram deities were being installed, there were some Vedic, local priests that were invited to do the the Prana Pratishta, which is the deity installation ceremony. But then he had his disciples chant Hare Krishna. And then amongst the two, Prabhupada could see both, and he said he liked the chanting of Hare Krishna better. So he was doing that just as a matter of formality to please the locals. So therefore we have the Krishna Balaram deities there, and they're not very common in ISKCON. Most of the deities we have are Shri Radha Krishna or Shri Gaur Nitai deities, and Krishna Balaram are quite special. So therefore we have Krishna, and then we have the Balaram there. And Balaram is always there to serve Krishna. So anything we see in terms of any sort of ornament or any sort of assistance, for example, an expansion of Lord Balaram, say for the Mridanga, right, is there to serve the Lord. So therefore, we see that as an expansion of that, and we always, want to be in that mood. So just going a little bit ahead. Shri Krishna Navadipi Shri Chaitanya Chandra Shri Balaram Sanghe Shri Nityananda. So now we talked about Krishna and Balaram. So the translation is, that original Lord Krishna appeared in Navadvip as Lord Chaitanya, and Balaram appeared with him as Lord Nityananda. Okay, so now we have Krishna, Balaram. We talked about Krishna being the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Balaram being the first expansion. And then in Kali Yuga, if you go to the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 11, I believe chapter 5, verse 32, where it establishes the fact that the Lord will appear as a Yuga Avatara, as Mahaprabhu would be singing the Sankirtana in the streets all the time. That he'll come with his associates, as we see the Lord Chaitanya has his associates here, known as Panchatattva, and therefore he comes in that mood and brings all his associates with him. Now weapons, it mentions weapons, but we understand that the specific weapons that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has is the weapons that defeat the arguments of the impersonalists. Right? So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is not there to beat up the demons and so forth, but in the case of the Jagai and Madai, the two brothers that were offending them, Mahaprabhu was ready with the Sudarshan Chakra, but usually is not with that. So here we see that same Lord Krishna appeared in Navadvip as Lord Chaitanya. So this is known as the Yuga Avatar. So there's different categories of avatars. And some people, when we go on book distribution, sometimes people from even our Indian background, we're standing there with the book table and we have Bhagavad Gita with us. And I remember one person mentioned that I was at a vegetarian festival in Calgary, and she's from Art of Living or some other society. She came to me, she's like, I know all about Bhagavad Gita. And she put her hand to my face, right? But it's actually, or I know everything about Krishna. Oh, Krishna I know. But it's hard to know that because Krishna is unlimited. So how can you know something that's unlimited, right? So it's sometimes when you read Chaitanya Charitamrita and Bhagavatam, it's sometimes beyond what we can conceive of because our memory is so limited. So therefore we understand we're just a tiny speck. We live for a few years and we leave this body. But we think we own everything, we do everything. So therefore, we are rebelling against Krishna's peace formula where we are supposed to be the cooperator and serve the Lord. So therefore we are always the servant and the Lord's always the master. So Lord Chaitanya has made this philosophy of Achinta Bheda Veda Tattva, which synthesizes and harmonizes all the philosophies that are out there in the Vedic thoughts, where simultaneous oneness and difference. And that's brilliant to say that. Simultaneous oneness and difference. That is, in quality we're one with the Lord, but in quantity we're different. And that, gets rid of all these other, sort of philosophies which, just do not paint the complete picture. So here we see that Lord appears as Chaitanya. So therefore, when you look on the altar, we have Shri Gaur Nitai deities, right? So you have Lord Nityananda and Lord Chaitanya. And the reason why, we worship them is they're very merciful. And if you remember, maybe if you know some Prabhupada trivia, which picture did Srila Prabhupada have at the first ISKCON temple, which is the 26th Second Avenue temple? Picture of whom?
Krishna with a cow.
Krishna with a cow?
Sitting on a rock.
Okay. on the, I guess I'll get more specific, on the glass.
Oh, okay.
Gornitai close? Yeah, it's Panchatattva, technically, yeah. So he had Panchatattva picture, and when you talk to Prabhupada disciples, and the closest thing to what we have to Srila Prabhupada is his disciples and Srila Prabhupada's instructions, of course. And they mentioned that when you would establish a new temple, you would first have Sri Sri Gaur Nitai deities, right? And the reason why that is because they do not take offense, right? So when you have enough of Brahmins in your community, then they would have Radha Krishna deities. And this is a very important point because if you look at the incident of Jaga and Madai, where the clay pot was thrown to Nityananda Prabhu, and Nityananda Prabhu didn't get angry, right? And so therefore, even if you offend them in that way, Lord Nityananda doesn't get angry. But the way we can offend is, okay, we didn't worship the Lord today, or I'm going on vacation, so who's going to worship my deities? Or, there has to be a plan in place where we always are worshiping our deities because they are the Supreme Lord themselves, right? So that's a very important point. But with Gaur Nitai, if you make a little offense that you're not able to do the full standard of Radha Krishna worship, the first deities to install is Sri Sri Gaur Nitai deities. And then when you establish enough of a rigor and devotees around, then you can have Sri Sri Radha Krishna deities. So, but before you even Gaur Nitai deities, having a simple picture of Panchatattva. So if you look on the right side of the altar, you'll see a picture of the Panchatattva. So having a picture of Panchatattva, so let's say I'm a new practitioner to Krishna consciousness, right? And before getting into deity worship, just get into worshiping Panchatattva. Because even if you're beginning, you may not be chanting or following all the rules correctly, but that's okay, because they won't take offense to it. And slowly they'll inspire you in your journey towards your Krishna consciousness. So therefore, having a simple picture of Panchatattva, offering your food, your bhoga to Panchatattva there, and chanting Hare Krishna, and that's it, simple worship. So in this Kali Yuga, especially living in a Western country, we want to make sure that whatever worship we can do is also done properly, but the Lord is so mercifully there to kind of accept our worship. So therefore, in this Kali Yuga, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appears along with Nityananda Prabhu. So here it says, Shankar Shanakarana Toya Shayi Garbhodoshayi Chapoyodashayi Shesha Yasmam Sakala Sanitya Nanda Kya Rama Saranam Mamastu. Translation: May Shri Nityananda Ram be the object of my constant remembrance. Shankar Shan, Shesha Naga, and the Vishnus who lie on the Karna ocean, Garbha ocean, and ocean of milk are his plenary portions and portions of his plenary portions. Purport: Sri Swarup Damodar Goswami has recorded this verse in his diary to offer his respectful obeisances to Lord Nityananda Prabhu. This verse also appears as the seventh of the first 14 verses of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. So here it says that Lord Nityananda is known as Lord Nityananda Ram or Nitai Ram. And when one engages in any sort of endeavor before you chant, we offer our respects to the Panchatattva because they're the ones who actually gave us the Hare Krishna mantra. Without them, there's no Hare Krishna mantra to us in chanting in a Western country, right? It's impossible. It's only because of their compassion that we're able to access that. And Lord Chaitanya is a prayer to him is Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Kradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namini Goratvishe Namaha. So Namo Mahavadanyaya. So he's the most munificent incarnation because even Krishna, who gives the instructions in Bhagavad Gita, Sarva Dharmam Parityajya Mamekam Sharanam Raja Aham Tvam Sarva Papebhya Moksheshami Masucha. So Sharanagati, Krishna says, I will deliver you. But with Lord Chaitanya, he's so compassionate, he doesn't demand that. He says, chant the Hare Krishna mantra, dance, and have prasada. And in this way, it will purify you throughout time. And then what even Krishna doesn't do this, but Chaitanya Mahaprabhu does it, is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is giving Krishna Prema, and he's distributing pure love of Krishna out in the street. Right? So here is Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, along with his associates Nityananda Prabhu, Sri Advaita Gadadhar, Srivas Pandit, they're all going and distributing pure love of Krishna, which is not a very accessible path, not a very accessible way. So we understand not only they are taking, they don't take offense, but also they are giving us the highest benediction. So therefore we're very lucky to be following in this lineage where we understand that Krishna is giving us such a wonderful benediction. So going a little bit ahead, Shri Balarama Goswami Mula Sankarshan Pancharupa Darikarene Krishna Sevan. Lord Balarama is the original Sankarshan. He assumes 5 other forms to serve Krishna. Apane Karena Krishna Leela Rasahaya Shrishta Leela Karya Kare Dhara Charikaya. He himself helps in the pastimes of Lord Krishna, and he does the work of creation in 4 other forms. Shrishti Adikeya Seva Tanranya Palama Shesha Rupe Kare Krishna Viveda Sevana. He executes the orders of Lord Krishna in the work of creation, and in the form of Lord Shesha, he serves Krishna in various ways. Purport. According to the expert opinion, Balaram, as the chief of the original quadruple forms, is also the original Shankarshan, Balaram. The first expansion of Krishna expands themselves into 5 forms: Mahashankarshan, Karanavadashai, Garbhodakashai, Shiradakashai, and Shesha. These 5 plenary portions are responsible for both the spiritual and material cosmic manifestations. In these 5 forms, Lord Balaram assists Lord Krishna in his activities. The first 4 of these forms are responsible for the cosmic manifestations, whereas Shesha is responsible for the personal service of the Lord. Shesha is called Ananta or unlimited because he assists the personality of Godhead in his unlimited expansions by performing an unlimited variety of services. Shri Balarama is a servitor Godhead who serves Lord Krishna in all affairs of existence and knowledge. Lord Nityananda Prabhu, who is of the same servitor Godhead Balaram, performs the same service to Lord Gauranga by constant association. Sarva Rupe Aswade Krishna Sevananda Se Balarama Gaura Sange Nityananda. In all forms, he tastes the transcendental bliss of serving Krishna. That same Balaram is Lord Nityananda, the companion of Lord Gaurasundara. So here we see that Lord Nityananda is not different from Balaram, and from Balaram comes so many different expansions, and there's so much unlimitedness in Sesha who wants to serve Krishna. So therefore, Lord Nityananda being non-different from Balaram, one of the ways we can observe his appearance and appearance in our heart all the time is by recognizing that Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave him the instruction of Bolo Krishna, Bhajo Krishna, Karo Krishna Shiksha, which means, speak about Krishna, praise Krishna, and always teach others about Krishna. And when we follow in that sampradaya, then we can, get the true full benefit of doing that. And that is by Sankirtan. When we are out there doing the process of Shravanam and Kirtanam, which is concentrated listening and chanting. But then when we read the books, the Shravanam is reading and the Kirtanam is explaining. So maybe you can explain it to a family member in your household, or explain to somebody who's favorable on the street or at work or whatever. That is the process. So, I offered something it's a very nice offering, where Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Nityananda Prabhu here, they're the most merciful forms, even more merciful than Krishna, Radha Krishna. And they're giving pure love of Krishna, pure love of himself. Right? But how do we access that? It's because of when we engage in Sankirtan service. And that Sankirtan service may sound as going outside our comfort zone, but you have to do something to grow. And unless we go out of our comfort zone, we're just not going to grow. Just like if you're an athlete and you're lifting weights in the gym, you're going to lift the same weights again and again, your muscles are not going to grow. So similarly, in our Krishna consciousness, we must always see that how can I grow in my Krishna consciousness? How can I serve better? How can I share better? And those devotees who understand Srila Prabhupada's purports, read the philosophy, explain it to others, they are the devotees who, are very, very advanced. And even those communities that are based like that, preaching-based communities, you'll find that it's just very, very sort of wonderful atmosphere. Just like you have here, so much preaching going on. You explain things, you make things accessible. You go outside, you distribute some books, right? This is sharing, Lord Chaitanya's, mercy. But you being a servant of Lord Chaitanya, using your body and your car and your wealth in Krishna's service, you are able to advance in your spiritual consciousness, because the alternative to that is to serve the material energy. Especially in this, the context where we live, it's very easy to serve Maya, right? She's there, they're there to take us away. But then when we engage ourselves in reading and chanting and explaining and sharing, then we have a mission to our life. Otherwise, what is our life mission? Is it just to pay bills and die, right? These are always going to haunt us. But what's our mission beyond just our work and our identity and our community and our getting into all sorts of communal things, family things? What is there? It's ultimately to serve the Lord and to share the Lord's message. And in doing so, you yourself advance in your bhakti practice. So even though the process is simple, chant Hare Krishna, have prasadam, dance, right? But then when we engage in that sharing and that high spiritual practice, high sadhana, then we feel ourselves to be advancing in this. Otherwise, the material energy will just sap us. And Srila Prabhupada's mood was not just, okay, I'm just going to chant japa in solitude at home and that's my practice only. No, because by doing that, we're not going to really advance by simple solitude chanting. We must not only do our japa, but then go and see how we can serve Srila Prabhupada in this mission. Because this mission that Srila Prabhupada has is basically Lord Chaitanya's Sankirtan mission. So, can anyone tell me about Lord Chaitanya? What did you need to do to be part of Lord Chaitanya's kirtans? So Lord Chaitanya had nocturnal kirtans where he would chant the holy name. But what did you need to do to get into that? Association, okay. What else? Any guesses?
Learning how to play mridanga kartam.
Learning how to play the instruments, okay. Sadhana, okay. You have to have good spiritual practice to associate.
Love of Godhead, love of Krishna.
Yeah, so spread the love of God. So unless you are part of the outreach, you can't be part of the Sangha, right? So even if we have, a group of devotees coming together and chanting, well, it's better to actually go out, share the holy name, go to a festival, do this and that, and then come together and we chant together, then you can relish truly. Otherwise, if you're just oscillating from the temple to the home program and temple to the home program, it's not going to help us because we'll wonder, well, how can I become humble? How can I become, tolerant? How can I, be able to see the Paramatma in other people? It comes from when we share. Because when we share, we come across all sorts of elements. People say no to us, which is good for our false ego, because our false ego will want the word yes, right? So I remember when we went on book distribution, there was so many bad things we saw. In fact, one of the worst things we could see on book distribution was with, Prabhu and Radha Saki. It was like, oh my God. But it's like, you have to tolerate that, and be like, oh my God, I saw that, and it's like, it's an eyesore to see it. But then we're there as, instruments of Lord Chaitanya and Nityananda Prabhu to share it. And then when we go back home, we may distribute a few books, talk to people about the philosophy, we do our service, we hit the pillow, we can feel that, we did some seva for Srila Prabhupada. And then we come here, and then we associate, and we share the nectar more, churn the nectar, then it's more relishable. So therefore that outreach is so important because it helps you in your sadhana, helps you in your spiritual practice. It makes you more humble, makes you more tolerant, and people will come with opposing arguments, so you can be able to explain to them in layman's terms as to what the philosophy is about and how Krishna consciousness is the positive alternative to daily living. Otherwise, whatever is out there in terms of the world and subscribing to these sort of lifestyles, it's going to bring you down. But this is the positive alternative. And when we share that, we're essentially being able to please Lord Nityananda and Lord Chaitanya, because Lord Nityananda was told to preach. So imagine that. If Lord Nityananda has to preach, what about us? We can't think, okay, well, I'm not going to preach. I'm just going to sit at home comfortably chanting, right? We can't imitate the great souls like Haridas Thakur. Even though he was born in a Muslim family, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave him the name Namacharya. Right? So that's the compassion of Lord Chaitanya. He accepted everyone from any sort of background. In fact, there was an example of the Pathans who, saw Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they saw him and they were very enamored, and they were chanting the holy name, and he initiated them. Right? So the Pathans were from Muslim background who are Vaishnavas, and that's the compassion, right? So if you want to tap into that compassion, let's do a little bit of service of what they said, right? And another thing is Guru. We may say that why should we accept a Shiksha Guru or Diksha Guru? Well, Krishna himself accepted Guru with Sandipani Muni and even Balaram, right? So they are showing an example, even though Krishna is the Guru of the whole universe, right? But he's showing by example, Acharya, that this is what's done, and same with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, right? They accept Guru, and then with Nityananda Prabhu taking Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's instructions to heart and executing the instructions of preaching in Bengal, that's a specific instruction, he was able to do that. So similarly, we must also take the instructions that come from our acharyas and execute that in our life. And when we do that as a disciple, that is the way we are connected in the Guru Parampara. If we don't follow the instructions, the Parampara kind of breaks, right? And you don't want Krishna to appear again for those reasons, because he just appeared in Dwapar Yuga. So that's about Lord Nityananda. And a couple of other notes I have is, very compassionate, and it's without Shishi Gaurnitai, we can't approach Radha Krishna worship because they come in that sampradaya as well. So without Gaurnitai, very difficult to approach Radha Krishna worship, because Radha Krishna worship is very intricate, very high, and worshipping the deities, you have to do so many bhoga offerings and so much worship. But Gaurnitai is a little simpler standard. So we should definitely worship Shishi Gaurnitai if we plan to have deities. And Nityananda Prabhu was appeared in Ekachakra, and at a young age, sannyasi came to his parents, Nadai and Padmavati, and said, I want your son, because I'm going on pilgrimage. So the father was very much in anxiety, saying, oh, you're taking my son away, and so forth. And Lord Nityananda went on that pilgrimage, and ultimately came to the position where Lord Chaitanya was there and met Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And Lord Nityananda was very much, he was very much like an avadhuta, where he was like, very much detached from the world. He would cry, chanting the holy name and be so absorbed in it. And he would do things that may seem a little radical. So he took Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's danda, which is the sannyasa staff, and he just broke it. He's like, you're the Supreme Personality of Godhead, why do you need a danda? Right? So he would just, go against the norms a bit. And it's very, very fascinating. And his wife Janava Devi also gave, initiation to devotees, right? So she's like in our Sampradaya first Vaishnavi Diksha Guru. So that's the life of Lord Nityananda, and he gave Chaitanya. So without Lord Nityananda, we cannot really even approach Chaitanya. So therefore, we worship Gaur Nitai, and by doing so, that's enough. We don't need anything more than that. And in terms of when we go and share Krishna consciousness, we should know that we're doing that as instruments of Shri Shri Gaur Nitai, and this way we can advance in our Krishna service. So all right, I'll end there. Hare Krishna. Any questions or reflections? Yes, Pitambar Prabhu.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. Wonderful. Give him a big round of applause.
Thank you.
Very nice.